The finale trailer is finally here, and it might be the most intense few minutes this season has given us so far. Right in the middle of it, there is a moment tied to something called red lightning, and once you see it, you understand why so many fans are already saying this could be the turning point that changes the entire story going forward. This is not just another dramatic trailer moment designed to get clicks. This feels like the show is finally getting ready to pay off everything it has been building toward all season long. What makes this trailer so different from the others is the tone. Most of the trailers this season have focused on tension between characters, slow-building conflicts, and personal struggles. But this one feels bigger than that. It feels like the story is stepping outside of the smaller personal battles and moving towards something much larger that could affect every single character at once. Red Lightning is not just a name. Based on how it is shown in this trailer, it looks like it could be an event, a force, or a turning point that none of the characters are fully ready to face. This immediately raises a lot of questions. Is red lightning something physical, like a storm or an attack? Or is it something more symbolic, representing a moment of change or destruction within the story itself? The trailer leaves this open just enough to make fans curious. But the way it is presented suggests this is something powerful enough to shake the foundation of everything we have watched build up over the entire season. There is also something deeply emotional about how this moment is shown. It does not just look like a dramatic plot twist thrown in for shock value. It looks like the natural result of everything that has been building since the season started. All the smaller conflicts, the personal struggles, the slow-growing tension between characters, all of it seems to be leading directly into this one moment. That kind of build-up usually means the writers have been planning this finale for a very long time, carefully placing pieces along the way that we are only now starting to fully understand. In this video, we are going to break down everything this finale trailer reveals about Red Lightning. We will look closely at the moment itself, explain what it could symbolize, and dig into how it might affect the main characters once the actual episode airs. We will also go back through the season and connect smaller clues that may have been quietly setting up this exact moment from the very beginning, long before most fans even noticed. If this season has taught us anything, it is that nothing in this story happens without a reason. Every conflict, every quiet glance, every small detail has mattered eventually. So when a finale trailer puts this much weight behind a single moment, it usually means the payoff is going to be massive. This is the kind of ending that could leave fans talking for months, especially if it sets up major changes heading into the next season. So if you have been following this story closely, get ready, because we are about to break down every important detail from this finale trailer, piece by piece. By the end of this video, you will have a much clearer understanding of what Red Lightning actually means, who it affects the most, and why this might be the biggest turning point this story has had so far. Let's get straight into it. Before we break down the finale trailer itself, it helps to quickly look back at everything that has been building throughout this season, because none of this finale tension comes out of nowhere. From the very first episode, there were signs that this season was heading towards something much bigger than the smaller conflicts happening on the surface. Looking back now, it is easy to see how carefully everything has been set up to lead directly into this moment. At the start of the season, the main focus was on tension between the core group of characters. Trust issues, old disagreements, and unresolved history created a foundation of conflict that never really went away, even during quieter episodes. These personal struggles gave the season its emotional weight, but they also quietly planted the seeds for something larger. Every time two characters clashed or made a difficult choice, it added a little more pressure to a situation that was clearly building toward a breaking point. As the season moved forward, outside threats began to creep into the story as well. These threats did not always take center stage right away, but they kept showing up in small ways, just enough to remind viewers that danger was building somewhere in the background. Looking back, these moments were likely never meant to be small side details. They were probably early pieces of a much bigger puzzle that the show was slowly putting together, leading toward whatever Red Lightning turns out to be. Throughout the middle episodes, the personal conflicts and outside threats began to overlap more and more. Characters who once handled their problems separately started getting pulled into situations together, whether they wanted to be or not. This blending of storylines created a sense that everything was becoming connected, and that whatever happened next would not just affect one person or one small group, it would affect everyone, because by this point in the season, nearly every character had become tied to the same growing conflict in some way. Another important part of the season's build-up has been the slow reveal of secrets. Several characters have been hiding information, whether out of fear, guilt, or an attempt to protect someone else. these secrets have created cracks in relationships that seemed strong at the beginning of the season. As trust began to break down in small ways, it left the entire group more vulnerable heading into the final stretch of episodes, right when they needed unity the most. By the time the season reached its later episodes, the pressure had clearly reached a boiling point. Almost every major storyline seemed to be pointing toward one final confrontation, even if the exact details were not yet clear. Looking back, it makes sense now why so many separate conflicts seem to be building at the same time. The show was likely setting up multiple storylines so they could all collide together in the finale, creating a moment big enough to justify all the tension that came before it. This brings us right up to the release of the finale trailer, where Red Lightning finally appears as the centerpiece of everything the season has been building toward. Understanding this slow buildup makes the trailer hit even harder because it shows just how long this moment has been coming. Now that we have refreshed ourselves on where the season has been heading, let's dive directly into the Red Lightning moment itself and break down exactly what it could mean for the story going forward. Now, let's get into the moment everyone is talking about, the part of the trailer where Red Lightning finally appears and instantly changes the entire tone of the finale. This is not a quiet or subtle reveal. From the way it is shown, it feels like the show wants every viewer to understand right away that this is something massive, something that cannot be ignored or brushed aside as a small detail. The moment hits hard, and it hits fast, which tells us a lot about how important this finale is going to be. The first thing worth breaking down is the name itself. Red Lightning is not a simple or random choice of words. Lightning on its own already represents something sudden, powerful, and impossible to fully control once it strikes. Adding the color red to it pushes that meaning even further, since red is almost always tied to danger, intensity, or deep emotional pain in storytelling. Putting those two ideas together suggests that whatever Red Lightning actually is, it is meant to feel like an unstoppable force that arrives suddenly and leaves lasting damage behind it. Based on how it appears in the trailer, Red Lightning does not look like a small or isolated event. It looks like something big enough to affect the entire group at once, rather than just one single character. This matters a lot because it shifts the story away from smaller personal conflicts and pushes it towards something much larger and more dangerous. Instead of one character facing a personal struggle alone, this moment looks like it forces everyone to deal with the same massive threat together, whether they are ready for it or not. There is also a strong chance that Red Lightning is not just a literal event, but also carries a deeper symbolic meaning tied to everything the season has been building. It could represent the explosive result of all the tension, secrets, and unresolved conflicts that have been quietly building since the very first episode. In that sense, Red Lightning might not just be something that happens to the characters. It could be the natural outcome of everything they have done, ignored, or avoided dealing with throughout the entire season. Another important detail is the reaction shown around this moment. The way characters respond when Red Lightning appears tells us a lot about how serious this threat really is. Their expressions are not just surprised or confused. They look genuinely afraid. The kind of fear that suggests they understand exactly what this moment means, even if the audience is still piecing it together. That kind of reaction is usually reserved for moments the show considers truly life-changing, not just another obstacle to overcome. It is also worth noting how the trailer chooses to focus heavily on this one moment instead of spreading attention across several different plot points. Finale trailers often try to tease multiple storylines at once, but this trailer seems to center almost entirely around Red Lightning. That kind of focus is a strong signal that this single moment is meant to define the entire finale, rather than just being one part of a larger mix of events. Taken together, all of these details point toward Red Lightning being far more than just a dramatic visual moment. It feels like the culmination of everything the season has been quietly building, wrapped into one powerful and dangerous turning point. Whether it represents a literal force tearing through the story or a symbolic explosion of everything left unresolved, one thing is clear. Once Red Lightning strikes, nothing about this story is going to look the same again. Now that we have broken down what Red Lightning actually looks like and what it might represent, it is time to talk about the part that matters most to fans. And that is how this moment affects the main characters themselves. A big, dramatic event only matters as much as the people it touches, and based on everything shown in this trailer, Red Lightning looks like it is going to touch almost everyone in some way, though clearly not all in the same way or with the same level of damage. The first thing to consider is which characters seem to be standing closest to this moment when it actually happens. Position matters a lot in trailers like this. The characters shown nearest to the danger, or reacting the most visibly, are usually the ones the story intends to hit the hardest. If certain characters are shown frozen in fear, caught completely off guard, or physically closer to the center of this event, that strongly suggests they are the ones who will face the heaviest consequences once the finale actually plays out. At the same time, it is worth thinking about which characters might actually benefit from this moment, even if that feels strange to consider. Big destructive events in stories like this do not always hurt everyone equally. Sometimes, a moment like red lightning creates an opportunity for a character who has been struggling all season to finally step up, prove themselves, or gain power they did not have before. If someone has been quietly building strength or knowledge throughout the season without much attention, this chaotic moment could be exactly the situation that finally lets them shine. This also raises serious questions about relationships within the group. A moment this overwhelming has the power to either bring people closer together out of necessity or completely shatter the trust they have built. If characters are forced to make split-second decisions during this event, some of those decisions might involve choosing to save one person over another, or making a sacrifice that changes how others see them afterward. Either path creates huge emotional consequences that could carry forward well beyond just this one finale. There is also a strong possibility that red lightning forces certain secrets out into the open. Throughout the season, several characters have been hiding information from each other, and a moment of this much chaos often makes secrets impossible to protect any longer. If the truth comes out right in the middle of this event, it could create even more damage than the event itself, since betrayal hitting at the worst possible moment tends to leave deeper scars than physical danger alone. It is also important to think about the characters who are not directly in danger, but are forced to watch this moment unfold. Sometimes, the emotional impact on someone who survives untouched, but watches someone they love suffer, is just as powerful as the impact on the person facing the actual danger. If any character is shown helplessly watching red lightning affect someone close to them, that moment alone could define their arc heading into the next season. Taken together, this means red lightning is not just a single event that happens and then gets resolved quickly. It looks like the kind of moment that reshapes relationships, exposes hidden truths, and forces nearly every major character to make a choice that defines who they are going forward. Some will likely come out of it stronger. Some may be broken by it, and based on how intense this trailer feels, it is very possible that not everyone makes it through this moment the same way they went in.